is Paul with Catfish Weekly, and we've got today Lyle Stokes, Chuck Davison, Chris Wallace, a.k.a. Fudd, and special guest Brian Kilpatrick, if I pronounce that right.
And Brad Kilpatrick.
We're just here to talk about some fishing, and I guess first let's get to Brad. What got you into doing the KC tournaments?
Well, me and all my buddies down at the river, we always found ourselves driving here, driving there to go fish tournaments, and you know, there was just quite a few of us, good little group, and we decided, well, heck, why don't we just have some tournaments here in Kansas City? And why are we always driving? And I don't know, the Kansas City Catfish thing was always more meant from the beginning to be more of a good old boys club than anything, and it just kind of took off, and you know, it's been a fun ride, so we'll see where she heads.
How long have you been doing that?
8 years now.
Wow. All right. Well, you know, I know that we've talked about it here a while ago, but I was going to ask you about your last tournament, how that went, and all that good stuff.
You know, our last tournament, we kick off the season every year in Warsaw, Missouri, and traditionally that's a great tournament. I've always kind of rode the ragged edge with that one because we have that one in early March, and Lake of the Ozarks in early March. It's a crapshoot, and it finally caught up with us this year. We had I delayed the launch by 2 hours, and we still broke ice on the launch, and boy, the fish just didn't cooperate. Fishermen got out there and gave them hell. We had 63 teams show up, but boy, the fishing was just terrible. You know, I think 15.7 pounds won the tournament, and that's down from 111 pounds the previous year. So, you know, it is what it is, and that's why they call it fishing. You know, I don't think that was any indication of that fishery, the potential of it. Obviously not, because we've seen a lot better weights. Or you know, we've got new regulations down there with a slot limit and a 2 over 34 inches. We got a slot limit from 26 to 34 that you have to put those fish back. They're trying to give those breeding size fish a chance to reproduce and get out of the slot, because those are the ones that are getting harvested on that water. And boy, that weekend of the tournament, we just didn't catch very many fish. The fishing was just bad. The next week, guys were tearing them up down there and have been ever since then. But that weekend, bad fishing. We had a great time in Warsaw. Everybody had fun, but boy, it was just tough fishing.
These guys get quite a few new people coming every year, or try to promote and bring new people into the tournaments every year?
Well, we've always done a pretty good job, we felt, at bringing new anglers in. You know, especially down there when we go to the lakes. We don't see as many new guys coming in on the rivers, but, you know, the rivers sometimes scare, you know, newer fishermen. But the lakes, we bring a lot of new guys in, a lot of first-time tournament participants, you know, and first time with us, first time ever fishing a tournament. So we've had real good success at that, and I think, you know, if you go back and look at my history over the years, you can see that how we've grown. My first tournament, I think we had 13 boats show up, and boy, if I have 13 boats show up now, it's a tragedy. You know, I mean, we're used to putting 40, 50, 60 boats on the water. My biggest tournament was 73, so we're getting her done out here.
That's a lot of boats.
Yeah, it is, and it's a lot of guys to get all heading in the right direction and at the same time, and it's a lot of effort to get everything organized and keep everything organized, but it's been working for us, so we have fun doing it.
All right, that's all I had for you here this time. Lyle?
Hey, Brad, how's it going, buddy?
Oh, you know, just doing my thing.
I hear you. when we was talking about the Warsaw tournament, I know there were some comments and people talking about the reason the fish wasn't caught down there was because of the new regulations. People would lead you to believe that the reason there wasn't any fish turned in was because every fish that was caught was in the slot limit, and I know for a fact that that just wasn't the case. But there are those that would lead you to believe that.
Well, there's folks that don't like the new regulations down there, and that's fine. You can't please everybody all the time, but that tournament there just wasn't that many fish caught. Period. I mean,
No, there really wasn't, and I know I believe that you and I agree on several things, and one of those being that the MDC is doing the right thing for that lake.
oh, absolutely, absolutely. I'm really looking forward to seeing what the future holds down there at Lake of the Ozarks and Truman Reservoir. I think it's only going to go up from here, because we've got tremendous numbers of blue cats in those two reservoirs, but the size just isn't there like a lot of the other reservoirs in the nation, and even locally. I mean, we've got a reservoir out in Kansas that will put that thing to shame when you want to talk about big fish in Milford Lake. And
right, they also seem to think that people are wanting to make that a trophy fishery and stop trot liners and things. And again, that's something that I just believe is not true. And they go on and on about people needing to feed their family. Well, I suggest if that's the only food they got is the blue cats out of that lake, then somebody needs to get a job.
Well, you need to do something different, because I don't even want to calculate what it costs for me to feed my family a meal of blue cat fillets. I don't even want to start doing that math.
Well, if you figure what it takes to take a weekend and go fishing for a whole weekend and buy your fuel and boat and time and maintain the boat and all the stuff, it's a lot cheaper to go to the grocery store and buy your food than it is to go fishing anyhow.
Well, I've always been a big CPR guy, selective harvest guy, and that being said, when I see people catching big fish and keeping them, if they're within the letter of the law, I don't have a whole lot to say about that. I would hope that they would not take anything more than they need. But if you're out there fishing and you need that big fish to feed your family, if that makes a difference between your family eating and not, well, by all means, as long as you took that fish by legal means, that's your fish. That's your decision. That's a personal decision. I choose not to do it. A lot of other people choose not to do it. But I don't think that being a hard line on it, and I think that drives people away more than it will bring them in. If you can show them a different way and don't necessarily single them out and make them feel like they're outside of a group, just kind of say, hey, if you need that fish, by all means, take it. It's yours. They caught it. It's theirs. But, if you don't need it, why don't you put it back? Because those are the fish we need to sustain this fishery.
I agree with you 100%, Brad. And there's instances where fish are hooked bad, gut hooked and bleeding real bad. We had one in a tournament last year that Danny Salfin caught, and when he brought it to weigh in, he had it in his box. That's why we have a 3-fish limit, because sometimes we get into those giant fish, and one of them's pectoral fin had jabbed the other and right in the side, and it was just gushing out blood. And the rules say that we had to turn the fish back, but that'll never happen again. While we lived and learned from that mistake, that fish should have been taken home with somebody and utilized, because I'm quite sure that it didn't survive. And there's instances where fish should be taken and not thrown back, but for the most part, that's not the case.
Yeah. Well, we hate to see any fish die during our tournaments, and it happens. It doesn't happen a whole lot. I've outlawed stringers in my tournaments for I'm going to say 5+ years, I have not allowed a stringer in my tournaments. And, you know, in the early days of Kansas City Catfish, we were putting the fish back. My weigh-in kid told me, he says, you know, these fish that aren't swimming off strong, those are the same fish that are coming in on stringers.
Right.
So we did away with the stringers, and I caught a lot of flack for that. And but now the guys have got live wells in their boat. They've learned how to manage those live wells, and I think that we're releasing fish healthier than when they were caught. I mean, you know, you catch a big fish, you tucker him out. You put him in the right environment in the live well and keep him in there for 4 or 5 hours, he's got time to recover and build his energy back up. And boy, I tell you what, some of them fish, when we release them now, they're ready to go. There's no doubt about it. They're in good shape and they're ready to go. I think we definitely made the right decision going live well only.
Yeah, we done the same thing, and I know a lot of the guys over your way do the same thing we do over on our side of the state, and they have oxygen and aeration systems, and they maintain their live wells really well. But one of the things that I'd like to visit with you about, a lot of these guys not familiar with Kansas City Catfish don't know the setup you have for keeping fish when they're turned in and weigh in, and you have a really good program set up for when people weigh in fish. You put them in your holding tank, and they're on oxygen, and you know, and I know for a fact from seeing you release those fish that they are better off after they're released than when they was caught. You want to touch on that thing a little bit?
Well, I have several years ago we bought a folding 750-gallon tank. The tank's originally purposed for firemen to use for fire stations when they fight fires in remote locations as a holding tank to feed their pumper trucks. It was 750 gallons. It all folds up. It fits in the back of my truck. I've got that I fill up with water. I treat the water. So I use city water most of the time if it's available. We treat it, get all the chlorine out of it. We keep an eye on the temperature. We want it within about 15 degrees of the water temperature of the body of water that we're fishing in. We keep it within about 15 degrees, hopefully 15 degrees cooler. I hate it to go hotter. And I have it on oxygen, and I also have a circulation pump for the spray bar. And boy, I tell you what, when you let them sit in that thing for a while in the catfish spa for a while, and it's a struggle to get them out of there, and they're in good shape and they're good to go. I mean, we don't lose fish out of that tank ever, not anymore.
That's a great setup you got, and I was really impressed with it when we was over at Waverly last year. It's the first time I'd seen it, and I just you know, I thought it'd be good if you'd tell people about it, because all the tournaments, especially in the hot part of the year, there's very few that have anything nearly even reasonably close to what you have, and I think that we all are working towards keeping the fish alive and turning them back good. So I know that I don't think you'd mind, you know, if somebody has a question, that you would mind sending them a picture of what you have, because it's really an outstanding setup. And you know, I think a lot of these tournaments directors should take a look at something like that. I know we're developing a deal to keep ours in, especially for hot weather. Right now we don't have any problems with them, but the warmer the weather gets, the more important a deal like that is.
Well, it really helps with the stressed fish. It really helps with the stressed fish. You know, we've got anglers at all levels showing up, and most of my regular guys, they've really got the live well thing figured out. Some of these newer guys, they're just learning, and we try to help them however and whenever we can. But boy, I tell you what, we get those fish put in that tank and leave them in there for a while and let them chill out and let them recuperate a little bit. They come out a lot better than they went in. So it's worked out beautifully for us, really, because we don't want to hurt any fish. I don't ever want to see a fish die at all, especially not a big one. So
well, those are your breeders, and they need to be maintained, and that's just the way it is. And
well, you know, and the guys are so much better now at handling the fish in the boat. I mean, You know, you can't go grab a 50-pound fish and hang him up by his jaw. You just can't.
No, and guys weight them in boats. I've noticed that a lot of these guys are not weighing them through scales and stuff when they're culling fish. They're weighing them in their dip nets and things, and that's a lot easier on them than trying to weigh them through the gill or poking a hole in their lower lip. They already got a hole in it from being caught, and weight slings. I know you have some weight slings and to carry fish in, and that saves a lot of them from being dropped and different things. So, we're all making progress in the right direction to make this a better deal all the way around.
Well, I'm absolutely convinced for the larger fish that the slings are the ideal way to transport them from the boat to the weigh-in, and from my tank back into the water. And I'll give a little shout out to David Ashby from Bottom Dwellers Tackle. He is not a sponsor of mine, but I contacted him and told him I needed a number of the weigh-in slings. I think I wanted to buy 10 of them from him, and bless his heart, and just shows what kind of man David Ashby is, and what kind of company he runs over there at Bottom Dwellers. He helped me out. He made me one heck of a deal on those things. I couldn't imagine the deal he made me, and he told me that he was doing it because he knew that this would be good for the fish. And I can't, my hat's off to you, Dave.
Yeah, Dave's an outstanding guy. He's good for the sport of catfishing, and he runs an ideal place for anybody that wants to buy tackle and stuff, and he does have the best catfishing sling on the market, bar none. So they work really good for tournaments and different things, and he's always improving his stuff as time goes along. Chris, have you got some stuff you want to visit with Brad about?
Sure do.
Okay.
Brad, if you wouldn't mind, go ahead and take a minute and let everybody know about the KC Catfish Club, like where you guys fish out of. You have membership fees, what your times are, just a little bit more about your club, so that way other people know about it, get a little more information out there.
Well, currently we're doing tournaments in Kansas and Missouri. We're hoping here in the near future to be branching out, maybe get into Iowa, Nebraska, Oklahoma. But currently in Kansas and Missouri. Up and down the Missouri River, we hit a few lakes. Milford Lake is my next tournament next Sunday, the 27th. We'll be out there at Milford Lake, and that's an excellent fishery. I expect big weights and lots of big fish caught at that one. But all the tournaments are open to the public. There is no membership fee at all. My daytime tournaments run from 7 a.m. to 4 p.m. My nighttime tournaments run from 7 p.m. to 8 a.m. And you can find everything that you need to know on kccatfish.com. We just got up a new website. I think it's a lot cleaner and a lot easier to navigate and find what you're looking for. All my rules are up there. My entry forms up there. Everything that you need to know to come fish tournament is on that new website.
Not a point series, anything like that, just a tournament.
We do have a point series. It was last year was the first year that we did it, and it was a heck of a deal. Our points championship was decided by 1 point, so it was highly competitive. I have 9 tournaments on the schedule this year. I've already had 1, so I got 8 more left. In our points race, we count your top 6 scores. So, if you have a bad tournament, you can always come to another one and make it up. We don't count every single one. Top 6, and at the end of this, whoever wins that points race, I buy their entry for every tournament next season. So the guys really like it, and it's hotly contested. And you guys want to have some fun, come on down here and get in that points race, because boy, that's some serious business there.
Are you the tournament director?
Yeah, I'm the tournament director. I'm the president, founder. I do have to get some help from my family, and occasionally we hire some help to, just keep people moving in the right direction and keep everything organized. But it's mostly me and my family are doing this.
Okay, you fish the tournaments as well, too, right?
No, sir.
No fishing on the tournaments.
When you got 40, 50, 60 boats showing up, somebody's got to stay behind to make sure everything's running right and everything's. Nothing. Disorganization upsets me, and I like my tournaments to go off without a hitch. Everything's black and white. The rules are the rules, and somebody's got to make sure that everything's right. And I'm the guy in charge, so I had to quit fishing my tournaments about 3-4 years ago. I still fish some tournaments, but not my own.
Okay. I had a question on the chat that asked, I guess while you were fishing, and I guess this can go along to everybody. Everybody in here, what's the weirdest thing or the oddest thing, I guess, that you've seen a catfish spit up in the live well?
You know, after one tournament we had, and we had one big fish caught this tournament. It was in Kansas City. We had a 70-some-odd pound flathead catfish. And we weighed the fish and put him in our tank, and he swam around in there for a couple hours, you know, and we got everything over with and got all the fish back to the river and went to drain the tank. When we drained the tank, I found a single fish vertebrae that was as big around as a quarter that got spit up in that tank. Now think about how big of an animal it takes to have a vertebrae as big around as a quarter. There was only one fish in that tank that could have spit that up, and that was that big flathead.
Any of you other guys had anything odd spit up?
I've seen a lot of stuff in live wells, but not during weigh-ins or anything. We've had all kinds of fish and crawdads and just amazing.
Dad.
Right, yeah. Bullheads and everything else, but nothing I would call out of the ordinary.
Now, one time we did have something pretty remarkable happen, and we were hauling a bunch of fish back down to the river after a tournament, and we it was just a short drive down there, so we put a bunch of fish in a 100-gallon tank, drove it down to the ramp, back down the ramp, and there was 4 of us putting these fish back in the water from back of the truck, and we got down to the bottom of the tank. We had one big blue in there, probably a 40-50 pound blue cat in the bottom of it. And when we looked at it, he was laying on his belly, and it looked like he was laying on top of a little baby flathead catfish. Just see the head of the flathead sticking out from under. It looked like he was sticking out from underneath this fish. Well, one of the guys reached down in that tank and grabbed that blue cat, and that blue cat went, and that baby flathead was gone. He ate that baby flathead out of the water.
Yeah, the
damnedest thing
fish.
I ever seen.
I'd say wasn't necessarily odd, but this last tournament here yesterday on the ICA they had it on Morse Lake, and we had a real bad shad kill this year on most of the lakes. But I mean, I was there 2 weeks ago, and the shad were the ones that were floating. You know, they were pretty bad rotted. I mean, and there was thousands of them. So out there on Friday and Saturday, we marked. You could just see the whole bottom bed of the lake. I mean, just littered with rotting shad. And almost every person you talked to that caught fish, you know, they said their live well just absolutely reeked of that dead rotting shad, because them fish and all the fish that were caught were gorged. I mean, all their bellies this springtime, you know, they were all gorging on that, and it was just the nastiest smelling. I mean nasty smelling. But that's about the weirdest, I think. Or not weird, but just the odd, nasty smell you would get. But besides that, I know that I believe you're going to end up being the is it the Kansas City state leader for the United for Catfish project that we got going on?
Yeah, in Kansas, I'll be leading that charge, and you know, I also have a very good rapport with the Missouri Department of Conservation. I know Lyle's on the other side of the state line, and whenever Lyle needs help, Lyle and I have worked together in the past on some conservation issues in Missouri, and and I would expect that to continue. So, yeah, I think that's going to be a really good deal for everybody nationwide if we can get everybody on the same page and get everybody banded together and speaking in a unified voice. Then we can start making things happen.
Yeah. And we were just talking a little bit before the show, and you were telling me, I guess it was Kansas City is if they're getting ready to, or they just did allow the noodling.
Yeah, I think they've allowed that in Kansas. I think this is the second or third season. I was rather disappointed that they opened up a noodling season. I don't think it's a conservationally sound practice at all. But that's what Kansas has chosen to do, and I think with the conservation thing, I think we have to choose our battles wisely, and I don't know if there's enough noodling pressure in the state to really amount to much anything. I don't know how popular it is in Kansas.
Yeah, but why allow that seed to spread, or sprout? Why allow that seed to sprout? That's my thought on it.
Boy, I tell you what, I would much rather see Kansas protect some of the big fish that they've got, some of the big blue cats that we've got. I think the noodling thing, if there's no active participation in it, it'll take care of itself.
Okay. Going on the topic of tonight's show being the alternative sort of fishing methods or whatever, do you jug line, or what all do you do? Just limit or hand fish line? What all do you do, and what?
Me personally, rod and reel. That's it. And I used to set lines. I think that probably many of us did back in the day, but I only rod and reel fish right now. I wish everybody did. Of course, getting rid of some of these alternative methods are going to be pretty tough. That's ingrained into a lot of the state's history. That's what families have done for centuries. In this part of the country, it's part of the culture, and it's going to be hard to get away from that. One of the biggest problems I have with set liners is I wish they'd pick up their junk when they were done.
Yeah. Yeah, many guys, even if the law is, to state, put your name and address and all that on each line or whatever. Most of the time that I've seen, they just don't do it, even when they're, even when it's a law. So.
No, and they don't. And then when they're done, they leave their crap hanging in the tree limbs and on the bottom of the river and the lakes, and that's my biggest complaint with it. If you're breaking the law then, because the law says you're supposed to have your name on it. The law says that you're supposed to attend to those lines. In the state of Kansas, I think it's once every 24 hours.
Yeah, most states, 24 hours.
And if you're not actively fishing with those lines, you're supposed to remove them. And I know there's guys out there that do remove their stuff, but I think there's a whole lot more that don't. Yeah. And once you've abandoned that stuff, you're littering.
Yeah, I agree. As far as where conservation's at now in Kansas City, is it where you'd like to see it at in the future, or what would you like to see changed?
Well, in the state of Kansas, I'd like to see them. We have an outstanding fishery in Milford Reservoir, Milford Lake. We've got some up-and-coming fisheries, Melbourne, Lacine, Perry Lakes, up-and-coming. And we've got so many fisheries that have great potential when it comes to blue cats and flatheads. I'd like to see the state do a 1/34 rule like, some of the southern states have done. It seems like those states have had a lot of success with those types of regulations and, producing a lot of big fish and keeping their fisheries healthy. I just worry about some of these fisheries getting overfished and overharvested. I mean, let's be frank about it, guys. The rods and reels are better. The information's out there. If you want to learn how to catch big blue cats, get online. The information's there. It's
Like
there for the taking.
this show here, we have some of the top, cat fishermen in the country telling you, giving you lots of tips and things like that, which it's not, you know, getting the tips and everything that gets you out there, and it's not just fluff tips. We really have guys on here that are giving you everything you need to know to go out there and catch 50, 60-pound fish or bigger.
Well, these fish don't get 50, 60, 70, 100 pounds by laying on the bottom of the lake and not eating, or laying on the bottom of the river and not eating. They get that big because they eat, and they eat a lot.
Do you
Once
do you
you know
have a
where
lot
they
of
eat and where they live,
yeah.
catching them's nothing.
Right now, do you have commercial fishing on the pressure on the fish in your area?
Um, Kansas does have some very limited commercial fishing, but it's only for rough fish. So we have on the Missouri River around here, there is no commercial catfishing on the Missouri River, period.
Yeah.
And there is no commercial catfishing in the state of Kansas. We don't have to fight those battles like you guys do over there.
Now, it's against the law, or it's just not enough of a presence
No,
to be felt
it's
right there?
illegal.
Okay. That's what I wonder, because what I'm wondering about is right now, I mean, like you were just talking, it's the commercial fishing is legal for rough fish. Up here and up north, our catfish, all species are considered rough fish. And that's one of our first battles we should be taking care of.
Yeah, you gotta
exactly
get the
right.
catfish recognized as a game fish.
Yeah, that's one of the first things we need to do. But yeah, them commercial fishermen, that are targeting these large fish for pay ponds and stuff like that, once, and I don't know if it's going to happen right away, but once it does happen, unless each state starts to get some regulations on pay ponds themselves and actually enforcing those regulations, you're going to see those same commercial fishermen that have ruined the Ohio River and our stretches of water going to these other bodies of water where it's still legal because they've not had that problem yet, and ruining those fisheries too. And what I'd like to see with the UnitedForCatfish.com project that we're starting is to eliminate that from even being a possibility. The states that have those catfish and those cat fisheries that haven't already adopted the laws and stuff to protect them, we can help them states hopefully with the knowledge we gain from all the other states and things like that to keep them commercial fishermen from jumping over there for those fish for pay ponds.
Well, if these guys want to run pay ponds, that's fine with me. Let them grow their own damn fish, though.
Yeah.
Let's quit. You name a state. You name me a state in the union that would allow. Let's just for a minute. Let's get out there for a minute. Do you think any state in the union would let you come to their state, catch a live trophy buck, transport it across state lines to go be put in a pen somewhere so somebody else can shoot it to pay to shoot it?
Put in a 5-acre high fence?
Ever?
Nope.
Why is it allowed to fly with catfish? That's basically what they're doing.
Yeah, it's all about the greed and who's in specific power places right now.
I agree 100% that once it's outlawed on one body of water, you outlaw commercial fishing, or you limit those guys to where it's just they can't take enough big fish out of that water. They're going to go somewhere else. I guarantee you they're going to go somewhere else. There's too much money in it. If there wasn't money in it, they wouldn't be bothering with these big fish. They'd be catching fish for food like traditionally, like commercial fishermen have for generations.
Yeah, and
they survived feeding people for generations. Now this new lucrative market has come into play, and they're exploiting it to an extreme.
Yeah. Trying to think here. Oh man, I was gonna ask something and it just floated away. I guess it's 8 o'clock now. I guess give me a second here and I'm gonna do some giveaways for our Dead Red blood spray that we have donated by Team Catfish. We did the drawing for the subscribers. For those of you who subscribed last week, the winner was now his name's
Lives down the street from you.
Yeah, I know. I'm just throwing a blank.
Big Cat 64 or something like that.
Yeah.
Doug.
Doug. I just talked to him today.
Doug Parkinson.
Doug Parkinson, not Parkinson, but Doug Parkinson. Congrats! I've got 2 bottles of Dead Red for you for the subscribers blog. I'm gonna go ahead and have everybody in the chat say aye. If you hear me now, say aye in the chat so I have your name, and I'm gonna put your name in a list. And I'll probably go ahead and turn it over to Chuck, let him talk for a little bit, and I'll.
What I need to do is either you or me do a screenshot and show them where they have to subscribe at for that.
Okay. Well, I'll show them. I'll show them when I go for when
Okay.
I come back to me for the winner.
Or
But go ahead, Chuck, and
All right, Brad. This is Chuck from Alabama. How you doing, man?
I'm doing all right. How you doing, man?
Good. Hey, I want to talk to you about this certain day that y'all had a while back with this certain character named Robert Stanley, and he brought a big fish in,
Oh,
and y'all kept that thing alive, had it weighed in, documented, and y'all released that fish without it being slaughtered. I would like you to go over that day and explain to these guys that these record fish can actually be state records and keep swimming.
well, that was I didn't even catch the doggone fish. One pull over, man, and that was my fish. That was my fish. I missed it by one fishing rod, but you know, Rob caught that fish, and you know that thing hit. I think it was 3 or 4 o'clock in the morning, and we had Chase lounge chairs laid out in his boat. We were snoozing, and I had, for one reason or another, I'd woken up and I looked up and I saw Rob's rod bump one time real quick, come back up, and then that sucker just folded in half and started screaming drag, and I hollered at Rob, get up, you know, and he ran over, got the rod, and you know, Rob's only been chasing blue cats for a couple of years. He got started with Kansas City Catfish, got hanging out with us, and became one of the group pretty quick, but he'd only been fishing for a little while. And this fish just pulling out drag like you wouldn't believe. And I said, Rob, man, you got 80-pound test braid on that reel. Put the hurt to him. Put some drag on him, buddy. And he said, dude, it's already. He reaches over and puts his thumb on his star and inches it forward about another 1/4 of an inch. And he says, that drag won't go no tighter. And this fish it's just having its way with this Abu Garcia 7000, you know. So we chased it down. I pulled the anchor, reeled everything else in, and we started chasing it. And I don't know if you guys have to chase fish down where you're at, but the Missouri River runs hot, you know, and we got fast current on that Missouri River, and we got to chase big fish quite a bit. You just can't get them back to the boat. But usually once we, you know, chase them down, we get the boat over the top of the fish. It's not long. You know, you get them up to the top, you get them in the net. And we got over the top of this fish, and he just can't pull it up off the bottom. And I'm thinking, what in the world is going on here? Why can't he get this fish up off the bottom? About that time, fish finally starts coming up, and it rolls, and I saw that beast. Oh, my goodness. I had the net. He had a little tiny net in his boat, and I threw that aside, and I said, that's not going to work. Swam around to the other side of the boat. I went to go grab that fish. I saw how big that fish was, and I wouldn't put my hand in its mouth. I was scared of it. I'm not embarrassed a bit to say I was, but we got that fish in the boat finally, and it took us about half an hour. Got him in the boat, and it's laying on the floor of the boat, and Rob's like, man, that's a big son of a gun. He says, how big do you think that is, Brad? I said, Rob, I don't know, man. I said, I weighed an 80-pounder last week in Waverly, and this fish is bigger than that. So we got out the scales, and he picked that and put it in the net and picked that fish up. And he said, what does it say, Brad? And I said, it says full. He said, what? I said, what's it say? I said, it says full, Rob. It says full, man. Put the fish down. So he puts it down, and he says, he's got one of those real nice Berkeley scales, and he's like, you know, I've only seen one of these scales do that one time, And that was on that Monster Cats DVD. I said, yeah, Rob, I know. Turn the scale off. Let's bring it back up, zero it out, make sure everything's good. Okay. Picks that up, picks up fish back up, and he says, what does it say? I say, it says full. Put her down. So we put the fish down, and I said, okay, Rob, I said, you got a 100-pound scale that we're maxing out here. I said, you potentially have a state record fish. What do you want to do? I said, you want the record? He says, well, yeah, I want the record. I said, okay, well, we got to get this fish back in the water. And we didn't have, we're just in an old John boat, and he didn't have, he's got a portable live well that he puts in his boat to fish tournaments, but we were just out fun fishing. And so we didn't have that with us, and we had to put him on a stringer to get him back in the water. Sometimes you just got to do what you got to do. So we put him back in the water, and we got behind a couple dikes and in some calm water and put the fish back in the water, and we started making phone calls. It's 4 o'clock in the morning. We're waking up people. I'm waking up my girlfriend. He's waking up his wife, because I got certified scales. So his wife went to my house, picked up my certified scales, and met us at the ramp. We got that fish back in the boat, zipped downstream a ways. The whole time we had wet towels over it. As we were going down the river, I'm reaching in with a bucket and pouring water on this fish, keeping him wet the whole time. We got pretty close to the boat ramp, and we slowed down, put the fish back in the water. We basically drifted back to the ramp another couple of miles. Got there, made another couple phone calls, and we had a 100-gallon stock tank brought down to the ramp. We had a bottle of oxygen and a stone brought down to the ramp, so we got that fish in that good oxygenated water. I actually ended up having to call a friend of mine from the Missouri Department of Conservation. This was Sunday morning, early. By now it's probably, 5 o'clock in the morning, 6 o'clock in the morning, I don't know. I can't reach anybody at the KDWP, Kansas Department of Wildlife and Parks. And I called a buddy of mine from the Missouri Department of Conservation, which he gave me the number to another agent for the state of Kansas that he knew that was way out in western Kansas, clear on the other side of the state. So I talked to her, told her what I had. She called the local biologist, and he finally got down there. We kept that fish alive for over 5 hours. Got that fish weighed, measured, certified, and back in the water alive. I don't know how many state record fish ever survived that certification process. I know it's not many. I hope in the future there'll be more. I tell everybody, boy, we've known that the Kansas record was going to go down. It was previously like 96 pounds, and now Rob's fish was 102.8 pounds. And I urge everybody, if you think you've got the possibility of bringing a record fish, have a plan.
Hey, Brad.
Have a plan and be able to maintain that fish. And I was the last person to ever touch that fish. I was the last person to ever touch that fish. I didn't catch it, but I mean, what a thrill and what an honor to be able to return that, to get that fish and get it certified for Rob, and then to get it back in the water and have that thing swim off strong and healthy. That's a beautiful thing, man. That's just a beautiful thing.
Yeah. 2 things real quick before you go on here. Rob, number 1, your house is haunted. Right behind you, your glass door opened and closed and nobody was there. And number 2,
let Peanut in, my dog.
But how'd you open the door?
Here, can you see my hand now? Yeah.
Yeah, you must have did it high. You must have did it low or something.
Yeah, I did it lower.
It was sneaky, man. All right, number 2, we got to go real quick to. I'm going to do a screen share, and we're going to do our for our live viewers. We're going to give away the 2 bottles of Dead Red, and I'm going to show everybody how to subscribe to be a potential winner for another 2 bottles of Dead Red.
Hey, Fudd.
Yeah.
That Dead Red, that's the real deal. Rob's fish, Asian carp with Dead Red on it.
With Dead Red on it.
True story.
State record fish.
State record fish, and his wife caught the Milford Lake record fish 82 pounds out of Milford Lake. Dead red.
There you go, guys. Everybody, you're hearing it right there. And big fish, everybody likes to think stuff like that might be something they don't need or whatnot, but put it to the test. Throw it on there, see if it works for yourself. So I'm going to do a screen share real quick. And let's pick that picture. It looks good. Everybody can see my screen right here. On each page of catfishweekly.com, you're going to see on the right-hand side the subscribe to blog via email. All you do is click on that, put your email address, and click that little subscribe button, and you will be a chance for Dead Red, and also you'll get updates when we update our website with new videos and things along that lines. Going to random.org, I'm going to post in everybody's name that said hi, or I'm sorry. Before I do that, I'm gonna ask the other guys on here. I don't know if we discussed it or not. I can't remember because I'm old. Do past winners also get to get in, or is it a one time? Once you win, let everybody else get a chance. What do you guys think?
I think with the Dead Red, we decided to put that out, but on all the other ones, if you win that month, you can't win the next month or something like that. But for the Dead Red, I think we waived that.
What? So you can win more than once?
Yeah, I think so.
Okay.
That's what we said.
All right. So I'm gonna add Jason Malone and Scott Wiseman to it because they both have won, and they're both in live chat right now. Or Scott Malone. They got married. Jason and Scott got married.
Oh my God.
All right, I'm gonna randomize it 5 times. 5 whole times. So I got it good and shook up on the computer. Here I go. On the 5th time, person in spot number 1 wins this.
Jason's on there twice, I think. Jason's on there twice.
Oh, you're right. Good catch. Good catch. There we go. 5 on number 1. Number 2. Number 3. Number 4. And the winner, Adam Winder. Adam Winder is our winner. So, congrats, Adam. If you will, either on Facebook or, on Facebook if you can, Chris Wallace, send me a private message with your address, and I'll get you those bottles sent out. Now you can go back. You can go ahead and check.
Okay. Brad, I know your tournament kind of got going by itself. I mean, you just started holding tournaments, and you didn't have to concentrate on really establishing, entry fees that would attract certain fishermen and a certain fee that would get new guys in. You kind of kept it the same from the start, correct?
Yeah, my first tournament we did a straight $100 entry. After we did that first tournament, out here, one of my main venues requires me to carry quite a bit of general liability insurance. After that first tournament, we realized we had to charge a little bit more and hold some money back. But my entry fee's been pretty much $125 pre-entry, $145 late entry from the get-go, and that works for us. Ain't nobody's getting rich off putting on catfishing tournaments.
Correct. But where I was trying to get is, especially around Alabama where there's so many bass fishermen, and a whole lot of guys aren't into the catfish scene down here. By us starting up new trails, but we've got to try to offer a good pot for the experienced guys to travel and to come do what they do, and also have a pot to where guys can come fish them and try to learn the catfish thing without feeling that they're coming and donating their money, to the guys winning every week. Your situation out there is totally different because your trail just built itself pretty much from what I've seen. But from somebody trying to start a trail, what's some tips you can give that from entry fees and trying to attract new guys to come fish that would help the trails get going?
Well, I tell you what, one of the smartest things we ever did was make a Facebook page, and then work real hard on it, creating interest, posting up my Kansas City Catfish Facebook page. We put big fish from all over the nation on it, and that helps kind of create some buzz. You're going to start slow, and when you're starting out a trail, you can't expect to light the world on fire from the get-go. I've told everybody that's ever started a trail, first things first, you got to take care of business, and you got to take care of number one. You got to take care of who is running the tournament and make sure that you're protected. I highly suggest taking out insurance. If you're really going to do it and you're serious about it, make yourself an LLC. Go talk to your attorney and create a limited liability corporation. Because in this day and age, especially if you're dealing with the public, you don't know who's showing up to those tournaments. It's not always just you and your buddies. I don't worry about my buddies suing me. I worry about somebody else suing me. Protect yourself. Get your insurance in line. Be an LLC. Get a good set of rules, and the rules are the rules. Period. Black and white. Never break the rules. Never bend the rules. The rules are the rules. And if you do those things, you'll go a long way.
Okay, so the waivers you can have people sign, and to cover your butt. Those rules that don't work out, people can still sue you if you have waiver forms. For them to sign before the tournaments and stuff.
I've got a waiver, and mine's about as ironclad as you'd ever see. But at the end of the day, a tournament waiver is just like a lock on a door. It's going to keep an honest man honest. That's it. If they want to sue you, they're going to sue you. And heaven forbid you put on an event and something tragic happens and somebody gets hurt, or heaven forbid somebody dies. One person drowns, and if you don't have the proper legal protection from that, they signed the waiver. Sure, the person who participated in the tournament signed the waiver. His wife didn't sign the waiver. Parents didn't sign the waiver. Children didn't sign the waiver. Waivers, they're just there to keep an honest man honest. And talk to any attorney. They'll tell you hold harmless agreements are about worth the paper that they're drawn on.
Okay, so you need to more or less establish your trail as a company and get it insured and all that good stuff, correct?
Yeah, if you want to, if you're really serious about it, and I know there's a lot of little trails out there that don't do this, and they get along fine, but man, I kind of feel like they're playing with fire. I've been insured from my first tournament. We became an LLC a little bit further on down the road when things started getting big, and because in the beginning, Kansas City Catfish, it was the same 15, 20 boats every time, and we all knew each other. We was all buddies. But as things got bigger, we had to do something to, because at the end of the day, all I want to do is go fishing. And I can't go fishing if somebody sues me, and if I don't have this roof over my head, if I don't have that boat in the driveway, I don't have that truck in the driveway, you got to protect your interests. My family depends on me just like your guys' family depends on you. You protect your interest at work, and you protect your interest at home. You buy insurance for your car, your boat, your house. Why would you go into a venture like putting on a tournament without insuring it?
Yeah, and we had a member on the chat that made a good point. You could have, your buddy Bob. He's a good buddy of yours or whatever. He goes to your tournament and he dies, and he might have been the coolest guy in the world. He would never sue you in a million years, but his family.
Yeah.
On the other hand, they feel for whatever reason you're responsible, or they can get a couple bucks from you. You know, that's just unfortunately the world we live in sometimes, and it's always better to be protected and not need it than to need protected and not have it.
I've always told my guys, we got insurance, but that doesn't mean we want to use it.
Yeah,
You
yeah.
know, you got to stress safety and being considerate and make sure that everybody knows what's expected. And I tell the guys all the time in my pre-tournament meetings, if one of you guys, any one of you guys, if somebody gets hurt or somebody dies, everybody here has a bad day, and that's the way it is.
Yeah, that type of insurance, it's not very expensive either, is it?
No, and if anybody wants, I mean, it's not cheap. I pay $750 a year, but that covers every event. And if there's anybody out there that's running tournaments and needs some insurance, get a hold of me. I'll set you up with my guy. He will hook you up, and it's the most cost-effective coverage you will find. Because trust me, I shopped around, and you can't beat my guy. You just won't do it. I've got the same insurance Cabela's has got, Bass Pro's got, all the larger trails got, and don't let them lie to you. Don't let them tell you it's costing an arm and a leg, because it's not.
Okay. All right, Paul, I'm gonna pass it back to you. That's all I got, and it's great talking to you, Brad.
Yeah, you too, buddy.
All right, Brad, I appreciate you coming with us today. Had a few headaches trying to get started, but I just got blurry. But we got you in there, and appreciate you coming by. I'm going to turn it over to Lyle here in a second. Start our last words. Keep it short, and we'll start with Lyle there. Go ahead.
Well, Brad, thanks for coming on the show tonight. We're sure glad to have you on here, and I hope to see you at a few more tournaments this year. Maybe we can get together and do some fishing in the meantime.
We better. We've been talking about going fishing for years, Lyle. We need to get her done.
I know, that's just how it works out sometimes. I've got a couple of tournaments I want to talk about. Coming up, we have May 24th, Nauvoo, Illinois, added money tournament for Twisted Cat Outdoors. Should be a good tournament. It's going to be north of the Keokuk Dam. This will be basically a channel cat tournament, so all you local guys that love to catch them channel cats, come on over and join us. May 31st, Burlington, Iowa. This tournament is a Twisted Cat Outdoor tournament. Brad is kind enough to include some products and giveaways with Kansas City Catfish. The points will count towards Kansas City Catfish tournaments. They will count towards Twisted Cat Outdoor Tournament Series. $100 entry fee. It's paying 50% back in prize money. 50% goes to Calvin Myers' family to help with expenses. Calvin, as you know, has been diagnosed with cancer. This is going to be really a great event. We've got so many companies. I'm not even going to try to list them all. The people, individuals, and companies donating fishing gear and coffee and rods and, my gosh, just everything under the sun. And all this stuff will be auctioned off or raffled off. And the proceeds will all go to Calvin and his family. They've incurred quite an expense traveling back and forth from north of Quincy, Illinois to the hospital in St. Louis, and as many of you can show up, it'll be a great time. They're going to have a dinner there, and it'll just be wonderful. LaGrange, Missouri, June 14th. Twisted Cat Outdoors, in conjunction with Mark Twain Casino, is having a Jack and Jill tournament. $100 entry fee, guaranteeing $3,000 to win. The other money will be split up to the first 5 places. We have people entered from 5 or 6 states right now. This is going to be a big turnout. If we get 40 or more boats, which it looks like we're going to have, the prize money will go up. At 40 boats, it'll be roughly $4,000 first place. At 50 boats, it'll be roughly $5,000 first place. I know the motel rooms are filling up fast, so if you're interested in making these tournaments, please try to get over there. We'd love to have you. There's going to be a captain's meeting on Friday night with a barbecue dinner. The casino's also going to give away T-shirts and ball caps and some jackets. There's going to be a vendor section set up out there for anybody that would like to display stuff. Get a hold of myself or John Nordyke. We'll set you up with what you need. The casino is also having free for any of the fishermen or their families that want to play in the slots tournament that's going on Friday. You get free entry into that tournament. Come see us. We'd love to have you. Chris?
All right, the Tri-State Catfish Shootout, that's going to be at Tanner's Creek on May 10th. That's basically a bunch of different clubs coming together. There was quite a big tournament last year, and it's growing every year. It's at Tanner's Creek, if I didn't say that already. I believe the entry fee is $100. One of the people you can send your entry fee to get in line for that is Vince Nadowski on Facebook. There's going to be quite a few people showing up for that one. Besides that, the UnitedForCatfish.com that I was talking with Brad a little bit earlier. Just a little more information for people on that. If you're what we're looking for, and we're talking about him being a leader of the state of Kansas, was that we're looking for other people in states. If you don't know if anybody's set up for your state or whatever, don't hesitate contacting me or Aaron Wheatley or Brad Kilpatrick or Lyle Stokes. Ask them if there's anybody set up for your state, and what would happen is if you become a leader for that state, you're pretty much just going to be on that forum and helping people get the information in your state out there, so people have somebody to contact in their state to find out what's going on, and to be able to put that information for their state out on that forum and things like that. So if you're interested in a position like that, and you're going to be part of a founders club, for the people who are the leaders type club in that forum, so that way all the leaders can talk amongst themselves and share information with them with each other there as well. But yeah, like I said, just get a hold of any one of us on that. Again, Brad, thanks for coming on the show. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope everybody else that's watching the show, all the people that are enjoying the show, to keep enjoying it. And I know that we're discussing possibly making a move to either a different time slot or even a different day and a different time. If you have any suggestions on that, we might be looking at Mondays at 8 o'clock Eastern, 7 Central, something like that. If you have any input on that, just send us a message on Facebook. Anything that you would like to see happen, and we'll put it into consideration, and we'll let everybody know once we make a decision. The last thing, the closer of every show that I do, even though each one of us are sponsored by different companies or whatever, the show itself isn't necessarily sponsored by anything. Companies can donate prizes for us to give away, but we're not sponsored by them. So anybody's welcome to watch the show. You don't got to feel like you're picking any sides. There's no politics. It's just for the sport of catfishing. We're all here to work together and enjoy our passion together. So besides that, stay out of my spot. They're all my spot.
Go ahead, Chuck.
I appreciate you coming on, Brad. That's about all I got. I'm fixing to have to go ahead and get on this. We're starting a Alabama Catfish Trail. We're going to have our first tournament's going to be May 17th. It's going to be in Scottsboro, Alabama, and it's going to be part of their yearly Scottsboro Catfish Festival. The launch time is going to be at 7, and we've changed the weigh-in time from 3 to 4 because the festival wants to weigh in to be about a four o'clock prime time spot, so there will be more spectators to watch it. So I will have more information on this tournament next week. Um, Again, it was good to have you on here, Brad, and I'll pass it on back to you, Lyle.
Paul.
Appreciate it.
All right, Brad, you got the last word. Go ahead.
Well, I appreciate you guys having me on. It's been a good time. I'd like to remind everybody I do have a tournament coming up this next weekend, April 27th at Milford Lake in great state of Kansas. Tournament hours are from 7 to 4 o'clock, and pre-entry is closed for that. So if you haven't pre-entered, you will have to bring me $145 cash. We'll be signing people up at 5 a.m., launching at 7, weighing in at 4 at the South Boat Ramp at Milford State Park. And then on the horizon, June 1st in St. Joseph, Missouri, we're going to have the Pony Express Classic, and that will have, so far I've got it added $3,500 to that, so we're expecting a big boat count, big fish, and a big payday too. So I hope a lot of you teams that do some traveling, hope you guys can come on down to St. Joe and join us, and we're going to have a good time down there too. But I'd like to thank all of you guys for having me on the show tonight, and I appreciate it. Hopefully we can do it again sometime.
When was that Pony Express tournament, Brad?
June 1st in St. Joseph, Missouri, on the Missouri River.
June 1st. All right. Sounds like a good tournament.
Oh, it will be.
All right, so that's it for this week. Join us next week, same time, same place. Until next time, keep them tight.